Red Bull's sister team, AlphaTauri, has just revealed that Daniel Ricciardo will be joining the team with immediate effect. That definitely comes as a shock because last season, the Aussie driver revealed that he wanted nothing to do with teams at the lower end of the table. So what led to the change of mind? And why did AlphaTauri have to switch drivers in the middle of the season? You'll only find out if you stick around. After the British Grand Prix, the AlphaTauri team revealed that they were kicking Nyck de Vries to the curb and replacing him with Ricciardo. The fact that Nyck got the boost does not come as a surprise, because Marco had been hinting at it for a while now. But Ricciardo being the replacement is what's entirely surprising. When Ricciardo's McLaren deal got terminated last season, the Aussie driver found himself without a seat in one of the F1 cars. Not because there were unavailable slots, but because he wanted nothing to do with the teams that had open seats. But soon enough, rumours about him replacing Sergio Perez of Red Bull sprang up. Several people were so sure that it was going to happen, most especially due to the rift between Perez and Max Verstappen at the time. But every top official from the team's principal, Christian Horner, to the chief advisor, Helmut Marko, denied the claims. They said Perez still had a year to go in his contracts, and his performance has been quite impressive, so there was no need for that. I feel what they actually meant to say was Daniel Ricciardo had lost the spark he used to have, and he was no longer fit for a Red Bull seat. Nonetheless, soon after Ricciardo's ousting Perez debacle, the team announced that the former Red Bull driver would be joining the team as a third driver. At the beginning of the season, Ricciardo was just mainly doing commercial stuff and driving on the simulator, but the experienced driver was secretly hoping that he'd get lucky and he'd be in a driver's seat soon, most especially Red Bull's. Fortunately enough, he didn't have to wait too long for a part of his prayers to get answered, as someone's bad luck became his own good fortune. At the end of the 2022 season, AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly decided to move to Alpine, and the team immediately had to search for a replacement, and that's how Nyck de Vries came into the picture. Initially, the team was considering IndyCar racer winner Colton Herta for the seat, but soon they discovered that the driver fell short of the 40 points required for him to earn a super license, which would allow him to compete in F1. Coincidentally, around that time, Nyck dazed everyone on the grid by earning points during a race despite being a reserve and driving the car for the first time. His performance had gotten him calls from both Williams and AlphaTauri, and the driver chose the latter, because who wouldn't want to be directly or indirectly affiliated with Red Bull? However, Helmut Marko, a Red Bull and AlphaTauri official, had chosen wrongly because the 28-year-old driver wasn't able to earn a single point in the 10 races he had the opportunity to participate in this season. So it brings the question, why exactly Marko chose him? Usually before a driver is chosen, a lot has to be considered, such as previous performance and so on. For Nyck, although he was a Formula E and Formula 2 champion, it was generally known on the grid that he wasn't a really good fit for Formula 1. This was because he had issues with his consistency, so it's quite confusing why he was given a spot by a sister team to Red Bull. Anyway, that's in the past now, because Ricciardo has taken over. During the British Grand Prix weekend, Ricciardo had given an opportunity to show that he was ready to return to the grid properly. At Silverstone, Pirelli had given Red Bull its newly developed tyres to test, and the Australian had shown great skill. Sources say that the former McLaren driver recorded times that would have put him on the front row of the grid if he had competed during the British Grand Prix. Red Bull's team principal, Horner, also confirmed how incredible he was while driving during the test. The team principal expressed how happy he was to see that the driver was still as fast as ever, despite spending several months out of the cockpits. It was great to see Daniel hasn't lost any form while away from racing, and the strides that he'd been making in his sim sessions translate on tracks. His times during the tyre test were extremely competitive. It was a very impressive drive, and we are excited to see what the rest of the season brings for Daniel. Although the decision to have Ricciardo replace de Vries was most likely in the works, other people such as junior driver Liam Lawson were also being considered. However, Ricciardo's performance at Silverstone was all the proof needed that he was the right choice. Besides that, he's a great commercial choice. He's well known compared to Lawson, who is only by a few in Japan, where he is currently fighting to win the Super Formula title. Ricciardo is also very experienced, and AlphaTauri will be a lot better having such an experienced driver on the team. But let's remember that after McLaren bid Ricciardo bye, he revealed that he was not interested in just any team, but top teams, because he was tired of struggling with the issues of teams at the lower end of the table. In fact, his exact words were, "I know that I wanted some time off next year from a race seat, and just from competition. It's been tiring the last couple of years with the struggles, so it was pretty clear to me that shortly after the summer break, that's what I wanted, and was going to be the best for me. But what's the next best thing than sitting around and doing nothing? And the more I thought about it, to obviously be involved to some degree with a top team, that was obviously the preference." So what made the Aussie accept AlphaTauri's offer? There's only one answer: Red Bull. Quite recently, Ricciardo admitted that it would be a fairy tale for him to end his F1 career by returning to Red Bull. He said that although it seems very unlikely for now, being with AlphaTauri would give him the best chance of that happening in the future. I'm remaining open-minded. It is like this is you and you're signing a 3-year deal. Then no, that may not be the deal I would look for, but if there's a possibility to obviously be here at Red Bull, the truth is, this is where I want to be. I'm not going to weave my way around it if that creates a path to get back here. Then yeah, I would look at it because this is the place where I want to get back to. The Aussie definitely has a plan, and it wouldn't be a surprise if he ended up in Red Bull for the 2024 season. But what would happen to Sergio Perez? So far, discussions about Perez being a victim in the end have been flying around, especially due to his recent performance on the grid. At the beginning of the season, Perez was right behind Verstappen, and it was an amazing time for Red Bull, because it seemed like their two drivers were going to fight for the championship title, but the Mexican driver began to slip away. In fact, he failed to reach Q3 for the 5th Grand Prix in a row in Australia, and ended up at 15th on the grid for the British Grand Prix. Although he was able to wiggle his way into 6th position, he is now 99 points behind Verstappen. When Horner was asked about Perez's performance, he said he wasn't too worried because the Mexican was still second on the table. At the moment, he's running second in the championship, and he's extended his lead over Fernando at Silverstone. We've got a good car, but we've got to make sure that we've got both cars in contention. Perez is safe because his major competition at the beginning of the season, Fernando Alonso, has also dropped in his performance, and no one else has been able to earn enough points to make them serious competition. It also helps that Red Bull is comfortably leading the constructors table, so there's not much pressure on the Mexican. Since Marco is the fierce force of the team, the one who's not afraid to tell anyone to pack their bags and leave, he was asked if Perez would also be shown the door soon. The Red Bull team advisor gave a response similar to that of Horner, only that he slightly hinted that Perez wasn't indispensable. That's what distinguishes him from Nyck de Vries. There's no need for action at the moment. There's no one who could replace him at the moment. So, it means that if a replacement is found, Perez could be shown the door. However, I don't think that's how it works. A driver's contract would only be terminated by the team if the driver was not delivering as promised. But Perez is trying his best, and he might pick up his pace as the season continues. As for Ricciardo, it's wonderful that he's back on the grid. I can't wait to see him race at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and I truly hope he doesn't meet the same fate as Nyck. And although his Red Bull dreams might seem a bit far-fetched, he might get a second chance like Fernando Alonso. So what do you think? Kindly let us know in the comment section, and we'll see you in the next video.